It's Monday, June 16th.
You've got them in your backyard, you get to meet them, you get to set the agenda.
Prime Minister Mark Carney has a unique opportunity to advance talks on trade, security, and a range of issues as Canada hosts world leaders at the G7 summit.
After a two-day manhunt, 2 sleepless nights, law enforcement have apprehended Vance Bolter.
The suspect in the shootings of 2 Minnesota lawmakers and their spouses has been caught and arrested. Conflict ongoing. Iran hitting Israel with a wave of attacks overnight, damaging an oil refinery in the north and killing civilians. Israel is launching its own attacks on Iran this morning. And people rush to safety in central Peru, where this earthquake has killed at least 1 person, caused heavy damage. Stay with us, Canada. Your morning starts right now. Good morning, Canada. Welcome to Your Morning. I'm Anne-Marie Mediwake.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Lindsey Deluce.
I'm Kelsey McEwen. Hope your day and your week is off to a good start.
Yeah, it's a busy one, that's for sure. World leaders are in Kananaskis for today's official opening of the G7 summit. Prime Minister Mark Carney will be sitting down for a meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump this morning. As CTV News has been reporting, Canada and the U.S. have been working on a framework toward an economic and security deal. We will get a better idea, hopefully, after today's meeting about how close they are to an actual agreement. Another issue expected to dominate at the summit is the conflict between Israel and Iran.
A diplomatic solution remains the best way in the long run to address concerns about Iran's nuclear program.
Prime Minister Mark Carney met with the leaders of Australia, South Africa, and the UK over the weekend. There is a long list of topics on the agenda at the G7 summit, ranging from U.S. tariffs to wildfires to the war in Ukraine and artificial intelligence. Federal officials have already been dropping hints that the leaders may not leave the summit with a joint statement on dealing with these big issues. Meanwhile, protesters gathered near a designated demonstration zone outside Calgary City Hall. So this is about an hour away from the official G7 summit site in the Rockies. They were there to bring attention to issues about war, human rights, and the environment. At one point, some of the protesters spilled outside of this demonstration zone onto the streets. Police say they were mostly peaceful, but officers did have to divert some traffic. Demonstration zones have been set up in Calgary and Banff, where a rally has been planned for this afternoon. In other news today, the suspect in the shooting of 2 Minnesota lawmakers and their spouses. That suspect has been arrested after a massive manhunt.
A moment in this country where we watch violence erupt. This cannot be the norm. It cannot be the way that we deal with our political differences.
Officials say the 2-day chase was the largest manhunt in Minnesota's history. This suspect, Vance Bolter, is charged with 2 counts of second-degree murder and 2 counts of attempted murder. State Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark were shot and killed in their home in the early hours of Saturday morning. State Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette were shot multiple times and injured but will survive. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz calls the attacks, quote, a politically motivated assassination.
Bolter exploited the trust our uniforms are meant to represent. That betrayal is deeply disturbing to those of us who wear the badge with honor and responsibility.
The suspect is also being accused of impersonating a police officer to carry out the attacks. The suspect had allegedly had a list of targets with him that included a number of public officials. He was reportedly armed at the time of his arrest, had at least 3 AK-47 assault rifles in his car. He is due in court today. Canadians in the Middle East are being urged to exercise caution as tensions between Israel and Iran ramp up. Israel's National Emergency Service says 8 people have been killed by strikes from Iran overnight. Iranian strikes have hit residential areas in Tel Aviv and other cities as well. They've also hit a major oil refinery in Haifa, which is in Israel's north. Israeli officials say 24 people have been killed in Iranian strikes since Friday, while Iran says more than 200 people have been killed. Meanwhile, Iran is calling on the U.S. to condemn Israel's attacks if they want to continue with nuclear negotiations. American and Iranian officials had meetings scheduled for yesterday before they were canceled after Israel launched attacks on Iran on Friday. Jewish and interfaith leaders stood together at the National Holocaust Monument in Ottawa in a show of unity against hate.
I'm here to pray with my brothers and sisters, but I'm also here to show that we want concretely to build these bridges that will allow for peace.
It was particularly personally a very painful hate crime.
The gathering comes after the monument was vandalized with messages written in red paint last week. The paint was removed, but not before making a painful impact on the Jewish community. Yesterday's gathering was about reclaiming space and sending a message that hate will not be tolerated. Ottawa Police's Hate and Bias Unit is investigating the vandalism case. Emergency officials in Gatineau are investigating after 2 people were found dead from suspected carbon monoxide poisoning.
We're saddened, we're heartbroken, we're shocked. I don't know what to say. Hot days, she would come get us and say, "Why are you not in our pool? It's too hot, you need to swim." She's family.
Neighbors say one of the victims lived alone. The Gatineau Fire Department got the call at about 7 Saturday night, and when they got there, they found 2 people dead. Gatineau police say the incident is not considered suspicious. When officers arrived, a car was running in the garage. There was a carbon monoxide detector in the home, but at this point, the exact cause of the leak, we don't know. It's under investigation. At least 1 person has died after an earthquake hit central Peru. I'm going to show you some video now. This is people in a church. Obviously, then they felt the tremors, and then they ran out. This was a 6.1 magnitude earthquake. Officials say the person who died was a man from Lima who was crushed by a wall that collapsed. Peru sits on the so-called Ring of Fire, experiences an average of about 100 earthquakes a year. The STM is warning transit users there will be reduced service again today and tomorrow. The first mediation session between Montreal's Public Transit Authority and its striking maintenance workers will begin today. There will be normal service during peak hours in the morning and afternoon rush, but bus and metro service will be reduced to 50% capacity for these off-peak hours. The strike is set to end tomorrow night at 10 p.m. The STM is encouraging commuters to plan ahead or find alternatives if possible. Dill pickles are entering a new frontier. Cup Noodles is releasing, a dill pickle version. They say, if you can believe it, this combines the flavors of noodles with the tangy and sour taste of pickles. This is just part of a recent trend of fast food restaurants, even beer and drink companies making pickled flavored products.